social media has put such an unrealistic expectation, and I felt like a total failure. You're kind of like in this dark place, like, oh, no one's here.
In some sense, a lot of people would say you've already made it. Why are you still going?
Don't have any energy to even think about sitting at the markets and doing 8 hours straight reading it and back testing. Layla, get off my laurels right now. Get off my shoes. Please, look at the paw print on my laurels.
We should just stand it on your laurels, like just pour
Just
on.
one foot, bro. Who do you think you are?
That's disrespectful. I didn't teach you to be like that. It wasn't always like this, was it?
No.
4 years ago, you couldn't have really predicted that this is where we'd be. Most people don't really get to see this type of stuff. What did it actually take to get here?
The life that I live now is, at one point, was a dream. A dream that part of me believed that was possible, but another part of me, like everyone that has a dream, there's always a part of them that has some level of doubt, some level of disbelief. 4-5 years ago now, when I kind of first started trading, I looked at trading as something that I thought that could make me money. The same as, I guess, why everybody starts trading or starts something, is the desire for money, the desire for freedom.
Would you say it's money that's always been driving you, or was there a point where you realized, there's more to this?
And when you start to get some money, you realize that money in of itself was never the actual thing you wanted. It was what money can do for you and what you can do with the money. The money itself was pointless. So being able to take care of your family, take care of your loved ones, money helps you do that, but money without that was purposeless. Even when it comes down to bigger picture thinking, you think that when you've grown up with no money, you think that money will make you happy. And the sad truth is, money won't make you happy. And at some point in time, you have to shift your focus to some degree to something more purpose driven. It can be selfish, can be selfless, can be a combination of both. Pursuing a better version of yourself, trying to be a better version of yourself in as many areas of your life, it becomes a lot more fulfilling than just thinking about money.
With social media nowadays, right, things look very easy. You jump into something with the expectation of, okay, this is going to be easier than I thought. I'm going to absolutely crush it. I'm going to set this goal 1, 2, 3 months, and I'm going to be where I want to be. Was there a certain moment where you got to where you was like, okay, it's more difficult than I thought it would be?
I think everyone goes through that. I've been through that myself. And actually, it's something that I consider the biggest point of failure for all traders. I always use the analogy when it comes to unrealistic expectations. Let's say, for example, Kian comes in here right now, and we know nothing about running. We know nothing about what's a good time for a 5-kilometer run. And he comes in and is like, right, you guys, you're both going to run a 5K. And then he pulls you aside and is like, you're going to run a 5K, but I'm just going to tell you the average time for you to run a 5K, your age and everything like that, is 15 minutes to run a 5K. And then he pulls me aside and he's like, yo, just wanted to let you know, the average time to run a 5K is 35 minutes. We both go, we run our 5Ks, we come back, you get 20-minute 5K. Great 5K. I come back, I get 25-minute 5K. Your 5K is better than mine, but because of my expectations of what average was, I perceive my 5K to be so much better. You've done an amazing job, and yet you're left feeling like you're not good enough, like this isn't for you, you should quit, probably shouldn't run again, I'm way below average. And this is what I see with traders, and I went through myself. Like you said, when you jump on social media, everyone's out here showing these $100 to $1 million flips, and we know they're total BS, but they don't know how fake that stuff is. They think it's possible, they think it's real. When you see someone who you think flipped $100 into $1 million or 10x their account in 30 days, that becomes your expectation. You think that you can do that, and so you set your goals to do that. I was under the impression these guys that I was seeing online, they were pulling out these crazy trades, 1 to 20s, 1 to 30s, 1 to 40s, and I was thinking like, these guys are returning 40, 50, 60% a month, because that's what they made it to look like. I'd failed a couple challenges before, and then one FTMO challenge that I had, I finished the first month 3% in profit, and I felt like a total failure. And then I had the next month, because back then when I started prop firms, unfortunately, there was no such thing as unlimited time. You had a 30-day period to hit the 10%. Otherwise, they're going to reset your account. So you had to make 10% in 30 days. Because of that as well, that added the extra pressure of like, it should be like that, because why would they set it like that if it's not? When in the reality is they set it like that so that most people fail. The point being is that I hit 3% and failed my challenge. And then the next month I hit 4% and failed my challenge. That for me was extremely, extremely demoralizing, because I had set the expectation that I should be doing 20, 30% a month, that I should be doing 10% a month minimum consistently to get my accounts. And so that's extremely demoralizing, because when I look back on that now as a trader that has already done it, that is already still consistently doing it, I understand the power of even just being able to return 4% in a month. So many traders overlook that like 4% a month for an entire year is what, 48%? Now, it sounds small because social media has put such an unrealistic expectation on what's reality. $100 to $1 million, or flipping 10K to 100K. When you look at it like that, and then someone says 48% in a year, you're like, what is that? And it's so sad, because that 48% in a year, if you can just get yourself $1 million in funding, and so many people will look at that and they'll think, oh, $1 million, that's so difficult to attain. It's like, it's actually not that difficult.
You was profitable before you even realized you was profitable. What was it that, made you realize that you actually already was profitable, and that what you was already doing was incredible? Because some people are still stuck there right now, thinking because they don't have a 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, that they haven't made it yet, they aren't good enough. And if they keep chasing that, then they're kind of destined to fail. I
guess it was really diving into taking my focus off of the guys that were telling me like 1 to 100s are normal and this sort of stuff, and understanding trading and institutional traders, hedge fund traders, and their average returns. And I think the breakthrough was understanding the idea that assets under management will always outdo return on investment. Okay, 3% on a 100K account, it's like it's $3,000. It's like, it's not life-changing money. But then when you go, well, that same 3% on $1 million is 30 grand, it becomes life-changing. And it's the same percentage, it's the same trades, nothing changes. And so when prop firms did eventually shift their model to unlimited days, then I guess you realize that actually 3%, 4%, 5%, 6% a month is very, very good. And right now, like, I'm sitting at, last year, my systems returned a combined 86%. Even still, like, some people would look at that and they think like 7% a month, 8% a month. Like, what about these guys that are flipping 10 grand to $1 million? And it's just like, they're fake. They're not doing that. If they were doing that, why wouldn't they just flip $1 million into $100 million? Why would they be making YouTube content? Like, let's be real. And that's the only thing that annoys me, is like, when you set unrealistic expectations, especially when you're doing it to other people, knowing that it's unattainable, you're setting them up for failure.
Did you actually get to the point where you kind of wanted to give up, and you thought, okay, maybe I'm not suited for this and maybe I should try something else?
Many a times. People don't believe that you can do the conventional path and you want to go down an unconventional path. Of course, they're never going to believe that you can do that. Honestly, like, I don't think many people believed in me. So many people have the saying, man, it's like when you're down, they kind of root for you. They say like, yeah, man, like, I hope you make it and stuff like that. But I think deep down they don't think that you will. But then eventually when you start to see some level of success, I think some level of resentment comes in because they didn't expect you to. Like, when you have people that thought they were, let's say, better than you because they got good grades, they were going to college, or they got a job, you're kind of like, in their eyes, lesser than. I think there's a saying like, nobody doing better than you will ever try to pull you down. So when you're in that level, they're kind of seen as higher than you. They maybe even perceive themselves to be higher. And so they kind of root for you. But then I don't think that they do it out of any level of belief. And you can kind of feel that it's like, oh yeah, man, like, I hope that thing works out. But deep down, they're like, that kid's got no chance. And I think you kind of feel that.
Does that affect you in any way? Do you feel like at some point, you started to realize that and wasn't really how you thought it would have been?
In regards to the friends or the belief?
I suppose the people around you, man, because it's got to be difficult. You grow up with all your friends at school, you got your family and stuff around you. They're rooting for you at one point, and then, at the next, it's like they act as if they're rooting for you, but deep down they're not. Did that affect you in any way, or was it like, yeah, it's cool, it's part of the journey?
I think it's accepting that it's part of a journey was pretty easy for me. It just kind of the natural progression. You're more unrelatable. I was blessed for sure because along the journey, you make friends who do believe in you. You meet people who do really care for you. You meet partners, you meet like close friends that become brothers. And so it doesn't really matter anymore. And that's along the way. And I think that's what happens when you take that non-traditional path. You lose out in the beginning because you're kind of like in this dark place, like, oh shit, no one's here. But then as you just keep going, you just meet people that are on that path, and it's even better.
In some sense, a lot of people would say you've already made it. Why are you still going? And what's keeping you going?
Evolution. There was a point in life where money was the biggest goal. It's like they give the analogy, right, of oxygen. Right now we're here, we're not thinking about oxygen, right? We've got an abundance of oxygen. There's grass everywhere, there's fresh air. But if someone was to come over, close your mouth, close your nose, you can't breathe anymore. At some point in time, the only thing that you could possibly think about is, I need to breathe. I need oxygen, I need air. And so I think that when you're at the beginning, you can't really think about anything other than money. It's like, yo, I just need to get good. That's the only thing that you focus on. And simultaneously, you put that on this pedestal and you think that once you achieve that and an abundance of it to the point where you can do what you want when you want, then you'll be happy. Then you've achieved the goal. The reality is when you get to that point, you realize that money is useless in of itself. It's a tool to be able to do things with. And when you get to that point, you realize that actually it's not the end that's the most valuable. It's the journey that you go on. The memories of who I was and how difficult the journey was will never leave me. And what got me out of those hard places were mentors. It was people like Tony Robbins or the Gary V's of social media preaching this idea of becoming a better version of yourself and how to do that. Because the one thing that a lot of people struggle with is, great, they have this idea, they want to do something, they want to be better, they want to feel better, they want a different life, but how? What do I do? Where do I start? Where do I even begin? And that's what throws so many people off. And so when I found these, quote unquote mentors and started reading books and watching YouTube videos, it completely changed my life. And I swear to God, 4, 5 years, even longer, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I was starting to get out of that low phase and start to have a purpose and want to be better, I knew that when I made it, I swear I will show others how to do it because of how much it changed my life. And I wanted to be able to do for others what they did for me. And so purpose became and is a massive part of why you keep going, because it's like, what else is there to do?
Something that I've realized in my journey, and I know that you definitely have because we was on it together, was to actually become great, to actually make it. It's more than trading. There's a whole personal development that has to come with it. You have to change who you are. You can't have this goal of, I want to become a trader and sit at home and in your bedroom and just try and learn trading, right? There's more to it. Let's touch on that journey. What did it actually take? Because it wasn't just trading that got you there.
Trading in of itself is the skill set, but there's a whole other side of things, which I guess you could consider mentally, is like who you need to become. For example, right now, there is someone out there, maybe even watching this video or watching a different video, they get motivation, and then at the end of the video, an hour later, and they're back doing the same old stuff. Chilling, playing video games, watching Netflix, going to the club, partying, wanting to go out with friends, like all of these things that take your time, energy, focus, etc. They go back to those same things. Now, why is that? And by the way, there's no issue with watching a movie once in a while or playing some video games with your friends once in a while, but you have to prioritize, and for a period of your life you have to eliminate anything that gets in the way between you and doing what you know needs to be done. So people have the motivation, they get this motivation, they want to take action, and then they go back to being their old selves. It's a very simple equation. Newton's third law is, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Simply put, cause and effect, right? Everything you do, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. So you have to reverse engineer it. If your goal is to become a consistently profitable trader, make 10 grand, 20 grand a month and live the life that you want, then you have to go, cool, what is everything that I need to do to get what I need to get? And what is everything that I'm currently doing that's not in alignment with that? And then remove it. That's not as straightforward as just doing it. It becomes a case of you need to change who you are on a deep level, because who you are right now is that person who watches the movies, binge watches series, plays video games, wants to go to the parties, wants to chase the girls, or just distraction. And it's not as simple as just learn trading or spend an hour a week learning trading and eventually you're going to get there. It's like you have to go all in, you have to commit to it, and you have to remove everything that gets in your way. And the only way that you can do that is by really honing in on changing who you are as a person. You have to become the type of person who does the work that needs to be done.
Money and success only amplifies who you are, right? So if you don't change these things about yourself and all of a sudden you grab extra money that you've never had before, you're only going to indulge more and more into those things, right? You grab a little bit more money, you start drinking more, you start going out more, you start eating more food, you start eating more expensive food. That within itself is detrimental to the journey that you're trying to be on. Do you believe in God? Like, what is that for you? What are your beliefs?
Not in the traditional sense, but for sure. I believe that there is a creator. I believe that there's a creator of this world, and I believe that that creator has set up this game, set up this, whatever you want to call it, with rules, with laws that must be adhered to, because you can't not adhere to them because they exist. And the game of life, and if you kind of want to fast track success, is figure out the laws, figure out the rules of the game, and then use them. Gravity is one of the laws, right? It doesn't matter whether you know gravity exists. When I was 3 years old, I didn't know that gravity was a principle. But when I jumped off my sofa and landed on my face, I experienced gravity. I didn't know it was a thing, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't going on. So how many of those other principles like gravity exist that we don't know? And I'm not just talking about the proven things. I'm talking about things that, I mean, you can't see gravity, but it still exists. So things like the law of vibration or the law of polarity. These are other things, laws, rules of the game that exist, that if you understand them, if you learn them, and if you apply them, will give you an edge over other people. Let's take, for example, the law of vibration. A lot of people call it the law of attraction, or like a lot of people call it many different things. Some people call it karma. I don't know, many different names for many different things. And I think that most people get lost in the noise of what it really is. I like to look at things purely from as much proof and science and logic as possible, while still not losing essence of some belief in kind of the unseen. But it's like everything is energy. Mm-hmm. Everything at its primal source is energy. It's vibration. It just vibrates at different frequencies that creates different ideologies of matter. This thing that looks physical is only a few percent physical. The majority of it is non-physical. It's energy. It's just waves. The same as light, the same as sound. Matter is the exact same. And now this goes over most heads, but it's scientifically proven. And you don't need to go so deep into understanding the intricacies of it. You can just understand, and these are the laws that God creates. If you want something, you want to become a profitable trader, well, there are laws and there are rules around the game that you can play. And so if you can align yourself both with action, emotion, and thought with one goal, you've cracked the code. And many people don't know about that code. And so when you ask me, about God, I believe in God as the creator of the system, and he designed rules, and then he gave us free will to play the game however we want to play. And so he has no favorites. It's all equal. We all have the same opportunity. We all have the same potential, but it's like, how do you play the game? And how you play the game is completely dependent on you.
Let's get a little bit serious for a minute. At the end of the day, if you're striving to be a profitable trader and you want to be successful and you actually want to take this route, then it is time to be serious. What things did you do that, before you even started this journey, you didn't think you'd ever do? Like the routines that we've had to go down, the diets that we've gone on, the different things that we've tried, things that we've had to remove, like all this stuff, because you don't even realize how important it is until you've been through it.
It's not about what you do as much as it's about what you don't do. So when we first started, we started together and we are going 10, 12 hours a day, purely focused on learning how to read the market, meditation, going to the gym, eating the right foods so that we have the mental clarity and energy to be able to go for as long as we were going for. Like you see so many people, they eat this kind of traditional American diet, donuts for breakfast and stuff, and they wonder why at 1 p.m. they're like slugged out, don't have any energy to even think about going upstairs and sitting at the markets and doing 8 hours straight looking at the markets and reading it and back testing and building systems, because they don't have the mental capacity. It's just they are ruining themselves biologically. We devoted every single hour that we were awake of every single day, no exaggeration, Monday to Sunday, no other responsibilities, purely to everything that we could do to get us closer to this goal, whether it be gym, meditation, recovery in the spa, eating the right foods. And the most important, obviously, is the hours on hours on hours on hours of understanding price, of back testing price, putting the work in religiously. And that's really what gets us here. Let's be real.
It kind of bothers me because we've been through it. We know the truth. We know there's truth to everything that a lot of people say, right? But it's true. You know, we went through that. We went through the sacrifice. We went through the different routines and going to the gym, reading the books, studying, working all day, but for periods of time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we're perfect, and that's something that we do every single day. I think it's only fair to share a little bit of truth about it as well, so that people don't get the wrong perception and, you know, doubt themselves when they can't stick to something all the time, and they think, I can't do this. Why can't I do it?
Yeah, it's so easy to get the wrong impression and then create unrealistic expectations for yourself. So as much as I emphasize the amount of work that we did, that doesn't mean that you will be perfect. It doesn't mean that you won't have days where you don't do as much, or where you do get more distracted, or where things come up and you're not able to execute as much, or where you do break a day of your diet, or you do miss a day of the gym. It's not about being perfect. It's about having standards and doing whatever you can to abide by those standards. It's good that you touched on it, because I remember an important part of our journey was when other people were telling us how important these things are, and we were doing it to the best of our ability, like to levels that 99.9% of others couldn't even comprehend, but still not to a level of perfection. And when that happens, and then when you slip up, or when something goes wrong or out of context, you beat yourself up about it. You think it's the end of the world, and you don't think that you're good enough, and that affects you as well. That isn't an excuse to have sloppy standards. You know deep down in your core on whether you're doing enough. And as long as you're doing enough, you will eventually achieve success. You don't have to be perfect, but if you know that you aren't doing what's required, if you know that you definitely could do more, then you should do more, because we obsessed over trying to be perfect to a point of borderline unhealthy.
Yeah, unhealthy. It is.
For sure. But it gets you there. And this is what, again, not everyone tells you. Like, you don't have to then do that forever. Like, you only have to learn the skill once. You only have to master the skill of trading once. All of the time, it's like a rocket. A rocket consumes like 70 to 80% of its fuel to get like 5 feet off the ground. So it has 100% of its fuel, and it uses 80% of it just to get 5 feet off the ground. And then it uses the extra 20% to go the millions and millions and millions or billions of feet up into the air. It's the same with trading. It's the same with everything. It's the most difficult part, and the part that takes the most energy, the most momentum, the most discipline, is getting off the ground. Because once you get there, like I said, you only need to get off the ground once. You only need to get trading under control and to a consistent level once, and then you can trade 3 hours a day, or you can trade both the sessions 6 hours a day if you even really wanted to. You can genuinely trade 3 hours a day and make the money that you dream of. I'm at that point now where I can trade 3 hours a day and still be making tens and tens of thousands of dollars a month consistently. And to others, it looks like not hard work, but all of the hard work comes in preparation, the same as it takes a rocket 80% to get off the ground. So I guess it's the same thing.
And, you know, something that I think it's only fair to kind of end on, what we did and what we put ourselves through was kind of borderline unhealthy, right? Was it worth it? And if you could start again, would you do exactly what you've done, or would you change?
I would do it with the same level of intensity, man. I would rather go to the extreme lengths of even borderline unhealthy obsession to get there faster. And then once you're there, then you can incorporate some levels of balance if you want to. Let's get one thing clear. Like we say borderline unhealthy, and the reason I say that is because of the level of perfection. But brother, that was some of the best days and times of our life, period.
They are the memories that, you know, we hold. At the end of the day, like, this is amazing. Like, what we have now is amazing, but, you know, what we speak about when we're together and when we're friends, and it's not what we have now. It's the journey we went through. It's the things we learned. It's the struggles that we had to overcome. It's the times of, like, sitting there, like, man, is it even worth it? Like, I'm lost. Am I doing the right thing? Those are the times where you look back and go, man, that was a cool experience, and I'm going to tell that people forever.
I'll do everything the same, and I'm super grateful that we are where we are, man. Like, this is, to anyone who's watching, like, trust me, we are just two kids that are nothing different to you. We're not special. We're not God's gifts. We are the pure representation of just doing what's needed to do. We never thought that we would actually realize this type of life, and yet here we are.
In the rain in Bali.
In the rain in Bali, yeah.
It started raining. Is there anything that you'd like to close off with? Any closing thought for people to take away? And
The closing thought that I have for you, no matter where you are right now, no matter how difficult it may be, no matter how many people may not believe in you, no matter how lost you may feel or how much you doubt yourself or whether it's possible, I am telling you, as someone who has been where you are, it is worth it. It is possible, and you genuinely can achieve it. There were times where I genuinely doubted, is this stuff even legit? Because I see all these guys online making money and I can't seem to figure it out. I would be lying to you if I told you there wasn't times I was like, is it even legit? Like, can you even do this trading thing? Or is it just everyone else calls it a scam? Like, is it a scam? And that's me even putting all my time and effort into it. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, genuinely, it is possible and you can do it if you just do what's required.